This is so. Uh, this is conference, ego, personality, and essence. Okay, so ego, personality, and essence are three different things, three different aspects of our psychology. They are not the same, which many people confuse them as the same thing. And due to that, all the wrong concepts that we have are formed. So, in regards of this, some believe that it may be all parts of your emotions, the personality, the ego, and the essence. But it's uh, they are three different things. So that's why the objective here is to distinguish the activity of each of these three and learn when each one is manifesting. When is the ego manifesting? When is the personality? And when is our essence taking over? So we need to know there are three types of acts. Number one, we have the acts of the ego. Here are the acts of the ego or recurrences. Uh, we have we have created this by not being awake or not being aware. So this so because we have created this in past lives and they have occurred already, they keep recording over and over again, plus its consequences. So they come with a plus every single time that they become stronger. And two, we have accidents. Here where my little arrow is, we have accidents that we create for being asleep. These are accidents that were not meant to happen, but because we are so unconscious, we are so asleep, now we will create new recurrences and we will have new recurrences. So, number three, we have conscious acts. Conscious acts, these are directly from our conscious, and for this, we must be aware so we can free ourselves from our recurrences and stop repeating the same things over and over again with more and more consequences each time they repeat themselves. So, do new things from our conscious. So now we have the ego. So time throughout time and cultures and customs and ages, we've had many names for the defects for the ego. So they are called selves, they are called psychological aggregates, they are called defects, they are called mistakes, wishes, temptations, instincts, trapped consciousness, ways of being of myself, sins, Seth read I'm sorry, devils, inner darkness, injustice, ignorance, suffering, pain, mistakes, mechanical memories, or concepts. So there are many ways to. They've had many names in the church. They're called religious entities. They have scenes, like I said, cultures and religions. They all refer to them as different things. So how were the how were the ego formed? Here we have the the ego. To understand these selves, we arise. They arise from non-transformed impressions. So from any of our many existences, they are they're born from all these impressions that we don't transform. They grow throughout the centuries, and then with fornication, we have strengthened them. So through the explosion of our energy, some things they are born, they are from a molecular nature, from the fifth dimension. So each one of these selves has its own personality. It is a whole self, a whole persona, as to say. And so they are. new selves and old selves. So we have new selves. Now we have the selves of Instagram, we have the self of TikTok, we have the internet self, we have selves that did not exist 40, 50 years ago, the self of the cell phone the last 30 years, the self of the computer, the self of the TV. We had the TV invented what in the late 50s. Um, so we have new defects that in any way possible existed in the not too long ago, 50 years ago. So now we have cell phone radio, we have new technological aggregates, you can say, that we didn't have before. Defect of Netflix, HBO, YouTube. The defect of YouTube is very strong. The defect of the iPad. So the defect adapts itself to the new eras, in new times, in new different throughout times. So some of them are very old. We have very old psychological cells. For example, the self of alcohol. Alcohol has been in history throughout time and it's been on the earth for thousands of years. So we know that that's a very old eye. We have the eyes of lust or the eyes of laziness. Laziness is a capital defect from which we have a lot of details of sloth, the self that is mm, bored and wants to have fun, the party self, the self to degenerate, to just waste time. Now, the self of laziness wants to spend time on the internet, on your phone, watching YouTube videos, watching TikTok and Instagram videos. It is a new way which the selves of boredom, and sloth can take over. So this is capital sin of laziness. We have the self, the party self, and we also have. We can also see how the self evolves. The self of masturbation, lustful selves, the adulter self, the zoophilic self. That's a very old self, the self of fellatio, the self of homosexual passive self, the self of active homosexual, the self of wrath, of anger, impatience, or violence. These selves in each existence have increased in molecular weight. So now the manifestation plus its consequences, it's higher. So if we didn't work on them for obvious reasons, we were just didn't want to bother and eliminate them, work on ourselves. But instead, we have fortified them in each of our existence. So now these eyes of dormant, of laziness, of anger are strong, and they have evolutionate. They have um, also, we didn't see drug addicts before the 60s. We didn't see, now we have the defect of punk rock, for example. The defect of video games is very strong now. We didn't see that 60 years ago, 50 years ago. And, well, we need to see how the self can be can be eliminated. We're gonna move on to the next slide. The ego, um, here the porn, I forgot the porn lasciviousness, how it evolves throughout time, and the ego can be eliminated willingly, voluntarily. So voluntarily we can do this and rescue all the wisdom and light and consciousness from every defect we eliminate, or it's going to be done against our will. The ego has no future, it's going to die. So either we can do it willingly, rescuing all the wisdom, all the light and consciousness from it, or it's going to go to waste, all our existence, and those defects are just going to be removed from us through pain and suffering. So we won't be able to rescue any life from it. So we can do this. If we can eliminate one defect, then we can eliminate them all the rest, because it is the same process. First, we observe it. We observe what is doing to us, what is it, how does it do it, comprehend it, and then we judge it. So when we judge it, we prosecute it, we ask our divine mother to kill it, to eliminate it. So this procedure is called psychological death. And if we don't do it ourselves, like I said, voluntarily, it's going to be done for us. So which means um, we won't be able to rescue all the knowledge and consciousness. So that is that. And next we have kinds of mistakes. We have here the next slide, which is the ego. The ego originates the recurrence, and because each recurrence has its consequences, it brings its own consequences. It has bills. It has for charge, and we repeat them over and over again with the consequences of the karma that each one of them brings, and then it's going to we're going to repeat the same thing over and over until we pay for it, until we learn. I'm sorry, not until we pay for it, until we learn from the lesson. And well, some sparks are brighter than others. Some will learn faster, and some of them will take a lot longer. And they'll just keep bumping, as to say, into the same rock, boom, boom, until one day they figure out they have to stop and learn from it. And sort of like a cartoon, just keep bumping into the same rock. So we have now that, so after this, we see that the self is, the self is desire. Here it is, I jumped the slide, or we can do this voluntarily. This, the self is desire. And the desire, it is the source of our strength. So who eliminates his desires can acquire strength, because we have thousands of forms of desire. I want to fornicate. I want to fight. I want to indulge myself. I want to drink. I want to eat. I want to sleep, but not eat or sleep consciously. um, but eat not because your body needs to strengthen himself or needs this energy, but to eat like an animal, because you just for the pleasure of it. When you're not hungry, you just need sugar, or you already rest. Your body is already rested, but you need to sleep and indulge in your laziness for 3 extra hours. That is not called from the consciousness. So these are desires. Every time we observe a desire within a defect, then we can rescue the light and consciousness from it. So this is not too over. Basically, every defect has a hidden desire. So, for example, if we eliminate the defect of wrath, we observe it, we comprehend the wrath, the anger that is doing to me, and then we judge it. When you eliminate the defect of wrath, you can see how you liberate consciousness that is trapped. Wisdom and the virtue of patience is going to be instead of the wrath. Kindness. So you will rescue the fire and love, these virtues from wrath, to manifest to manifest. So now, in a situation where you were going to act with anger, now you are going to have patience, you are going to have serenity, you are going to have wisdom to and fire to act and behave, instead of allowing your wrath to do it for you and create a new recurrence, give you more karma, and keep repeating the same thing over and over again. So now we move on to the personality. And personality, it is an energy uh, vehicle that is a form of an energy of or personality. The personality, we can say, is formed in the first 7 years, and in each existence, First, with the culture, the gender. The first 7 years, you learn if you're female, male, your language, your culture, and your education, dislikes, likes, and throughout the years when you are growing up, here from baby to growing, then you have the schooling titles besides your last name and your education, your habits, your costumes, and your hobbies. So then you're strengthening your personality becomes strong and settled. Now you know what you are. You're going to become a doctor. You're going to become a lawyer. You are going to become a teacher. That is your personality. I am a teacher from Russia. I am a doctor from Vietnam. That is the personality, and each personality is different in each time because it is um, the personality has no future, so it dies in each existence. For instance, we couldn't have the personality of an Egyptian or a Roman in this time in life. It will be too strange for the personality. So in each society that we live in each life, we have a different personality. So just a vehicle, like I said, um, uh, for the defects to manifest. For example, through the personality of a baker, the defects of greed of a banker, I'm sorry, to the personality of a banker. The defects of greed can very easily manifest, or through the personality of a police officer, the defects of a tyrant or a dictator can very easily manifest, or the personality of an actress, um, the defect of vanity can the defect of vanity can manifest, and of a baker, the different of indulgence. You want to eat donuts all day if you're a baker. So there are two types of personality. We have the passive and the receptive. The passive personality, I'm sorry, it is the personality of that is a service of the being is receptive. So instead of strengthening your defects, which is the key factor for the personality to lose itself, we can on the fascination of everyday things, we can observe ourselves and see how what is moving inside of us. And um, the active personality, it is the the one that is identified with the self, with all of the superficial things of the personality. So it's formed this personality is formed through imitation. We learn to imitate first our parents and our schools and what we see in society in TV. So we learn to form this through imitation. And now we move on to to oh, here I jumped this slide. Like I said, name, sex, gender, education, economic position, place, language, concepts, our habits, our fashions, costumes, rules, fears, country laws, job, profession, and titles. And this is the personality. The personality is made of many fractions of each self. So each one is a different one. So it fascinates us with the world. Personality has us hypnotized, has us unconscious. So we're basically asleep. And we have two types of personality: the active personality, like I said. The passive is the one that puts the personality to the service of the self. You observe yourself and you see what's moving instead of acting. And the active personality is the one that gives in to all the fascinating things of this personality of the society. So those are the two types of personality. And now we move on to the essence. And sorry, the essence, it is the real, this is the real, this is the true and eternal in each one of us. Each one of us is the only thing that is truly worthwhile, what's inside of us. what is immortal, what what is forever. So this is the 100% of our essence that is immortal. So divided into two parts. One that is the 3% of our awakened consciousness that is not trackable but is asleep. So we can work on that awakening, and uh, or divine light or spirit or however you may want to call it, and the remaining 97% of essence right here, which is innocent and catchable, which the purpose is that we liberate, um, and make our own creation, rescuing all of the wisdom and consciousness of evil of each defect. So this is the purpose, is to rescue all of that wisdom from each defect. The 3% um, manifests the first years of existence, and in the first 3 years of a child, there's a shine, there's a beauty or consciousness, a free part of essence that we see in a child. And after the 7 years, it begins to fade progressively. The child becomes more mischievous, becomes a liar, becomes more intellectual until he finally forms his personality. So he becomes a typical average adult. So in all society, will form this child, and he will just fall asleep. He will no longer have this voice of his consciousness. So he will become um, just basically unconscious, and in a few cases, he will listen to the voice of his consciousness. So, for example, here we move on to the next slide. So, how does the essence look for? We have the three factors. First, psychological death, to die, to eliminate our defects and rescue the light from each, the evil from, and wisdom from evil, or the wrongdoing. To be born, the spiritual birth, the creation of our bodies, and three, the sacrifice for humanity, and do this without regards of culture and gender, with no intentions or profit from it. So how to differentiate, I'm sorry, the ego, the personality, and the essence. So, for example, when you are, um, somebody offers a young man a shady business, promising easy money, fast money, and it's a risky business and tricky. It's a tricky way of getting out of all these debts. So he says, he thinks about it and he says no. So consciously, apparently consciously, he says no. But to see what really happened here is that the thief I told him, go ahead and do it. You need the money. Who cares who the money belongs to? But the personality is different and told him, you're going to get caught. You're not only going to lose your freedom, but you're going to end up in prison, and all your reputation is going to be all over the news. So the personality rejected the deal and not the consciousness. The consciousness would have said yes from the very beginning. The real consciousness would have told him, no, this is somebody else's money. This is not yours to take, and this is wrong in every way. So it's something that I haven't earned myself. It's not mine. So that's one example. Another example is a young girl is at an ice cream stand, and well, they tell her she can get a free dessert with excessive sugar and a cherry on top. Let's say. So she apparently consciously says no, but her personality is different and tells her those are too many calories and you're going to get fat. You won't be able to wear the new bikini where you look so good in. So the personality rejected all the sugar, not the consciousness. The personality told her, no, you're not going to look good in your new bikini. You are going to get fat and you're going to get ugly. The consciousness would have told her, would have said, no, all of this is junk food. It's going to hurt my metabolism. It's really harmful for my body. So what acted that is a personality, not the consciousness. I told her not to eat that dessert. So we see how the consciousness, the personality can mimic the consciousness, but it's not. So the ego is the personality and the essence. So on we reflect on all of our actions at all times. So what defects are moving, what is left over, what is missing, and we must be reflective to know the difference between each one of these three to let our consciousness manifest and do conscious acts, and eliminate the ego. So this is this is only done through self-observation to know and develop the sense that will allow us to make radical changes in our life. So only through self-observation we can see what is moving, the ego, the personality, or the essence. And like I said, we should let the essence act, the essence to take over, and all of our acts should be conscious acts. So it is the greatest capacity that we would develop this, because if we learn to observe ourselves, we discover from moment to moment through intimate self-observation, we can have real changes in ourselves, in our way of thinking, feeling, acting, and expressing ourselves, and therefore we will be able to observe what is moving and eliminate it. Ask our Divine Mother to pulverize it and kill it, eliminate it for us. And and that's it for this conference of ego, personality, and essence. Preguntas, críticas, respuestas. Fue breve, gracias. Fue breve sin tantos ejemplos para no alargarlo.